Hi guys, Ace back with another video for Twisted Dice. And I'm back with some more Tyranid Tactics. This one's by a request, and it's a very hot topic at the moment, which is how to beat Dark Eldar or the Drukhari. And this is everywhere. Everybody's putting their spin and their kind of 2 pence to what this what this subject means and whether it's achievable. But today we're going to look at it in terms of a Tyranid army and in Tyranid players. So if you do like this video, please do drop that big old like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's great to see so many comments, so please do let us know what you think of the video and your opinions. And I know that in the opinions today there is going to be some serious split opinions, so drop down, and I always love to hear your thoughts and what you think. And if you want to follow us further, we are all over social media, so make sure you check us out over on Facebook. We post on there pretty daily, and we're active on Instagram. And if you want to become an absolute mega boss, there are links below to become part of our Patreon. And those guys absolutely keep us going, so thank you very much. Right, so let's jump into this video and talk a little bit about the Dukkari, but more importantly, how do we beat them with Tyranids? Now, first of all, you'll see probably from the title and the thumbnail, and I know that already there's a lot of you that have already just put down in the comments, no, can't be beaten, or no, Tyranids can't do it, or Tyranids are useless, whatever, which is absolutely fine. That's no problem at all. And what I will say from the off is the Drukhari book, the new codex, is very strong, and there's no doubt about it. It is currently ripping up the tournament scene for what the tournament scene is, and it's still relatively small. It's growing quickly again as we come out of lockdown. But they are proving to be pretty dominant, and a lot of the big players, most of the big players, have adopted to using them. So look, there's no point in me sitting here and saying Drukhari aren't strong. They're not too strong. They are incredibly powerful, and borderline. There's things in there that definitely need changing. Because they're out of line really at the moment with the rest of the game. They are undercosted from a points point of view. You can get too many Dukkari units for your points, and there are certain things within their book that are a little bit too powerful as well in the current kind of 40k scene. But there's lots of things to bear in mind there. For a start, obviously what you've seen is the Games Workshop slow down in their codex and rules release. Some of that is maybe intentional, a lot of it is probably circumstantial, as they're having some issues with distribution. So what we've got to understand is that Dukkari may well not be top of the podium for that long, so we do need to bear that in mind, and which is why I didn't necessarily want to do this video at first, because for me it could be quite flash in the pan, but a lot of people requested it, so let's talk it through. So what have we got to our advantage as Tyranid players to counter the menace that is Drukhari? Well, let's start off with the things that we do not have and we need to avoid. First thing, unfortunately, is combat. So I know that at the moment we're favouring going for the 2 Dimmacarons, and there are still players that like to play the kind of combat force, if you like. Well, if we're teching heavily into combat, we're going to probably come unstuck for 2 reasons. The main reason is that Drukhari have so many tricks and the ability to shut down our combat, and they have the ability to hit us extremely hard. So they're able to outdo us in combat. Because they're underpointed, they'll also trade up so well. So they'll be able to, and when I say that, what that means is they're able to sacrifice their units and kill a lot more of ours in return, so they will lose less than we do, and that's one of the biggest problems about trying to take them on in a combat orientated way. That doesn't really work, so don't try and tech in that way. that's not a way to be successful. So the other ways that we've got to look at, obviously we can go psychic heavy, doesn't really work for Tyranids. We can go board control, or we can go shooting. So let's look at those and work out how best we build a Tyranid army that's going to factor well into Dukkari. So first of all, ball control. Now we do ball control pretty well. We have cheap bodies and we have quite good mobility and the ability as well to bring things in by a deep strike or what have you. Now that will work, and that's quite a viable tactic against Drukhari, but you do need to bear in mind that all of their little units do hit incredibly hard, so they have the ability to destroy our small units quite quickly. So building a tactic that is solely around board control is also probably a mistake. Now, elements of ball control and being able to still concentrate on those secondaries and win the game that way, that I focused heavily on in my last video, are still viable, and we need to not forget that. If we build an army that's just about destroying Drukhari, then we won't win because they will beat us on missions. So you are going to still need some board control, and you're going to need the ability to be able to take objectives. But bear in mind that playing the all-out ball control style probably won't work, because units of witches will go into 30-man units of termagants and just blender them. So let's make sure that we take that into account. Now the next bit is obviously psychic. As I said, we don't really do psychic particularly well. We've got some really good psychic powers, but we don't have the damage output or the ability to make that probably a key tactic. But, you know, zoanthropes do work well into Drukhari. You know, yes, you know, they're not that tough, but they're quite resilient within their 3-up invuln save. So they work a little bit. Neurothropes, Hive Tyrants, Swarm Lord, they all have the ability to do damage and be beneficial from their psychic abilities that Drukhari will struggle to stop, but they're probably not something you want to build an army around. So that moves on to the final thing, which is probably not too much of a surprise, because it's probably what Tyranids do best and still people haven't really kind of come to grips with, and that's our shooting. We have an amazing shooting army, and the shooting army will do a lot of damage to Drukhari. Most of their stuff is fairly flimsy. We do have the ability to put out volume of high strength shooting and at fairly good range within a 9th edition board. And that is where you can counter Drukhari. That is where you can win that game, and you can start to kind of turn the tables. And as I said, don't get it twisted. It's still going to be difficult, but when you build in multiple high damage shooting, then we can definitely do the number on them. So when you're building your list and you're building for Drukhari, you want to be, and again, this is what you're probably taking against most people anyway, but you need to make sure you're factoring this as a key part. You want exocrines, you want Hive Guard, particularly Hive Guard. Hive Guard are super strong, and it might even be the case that you want multiple units of Hive Guard rather than just the one. That might sound controversial, but potentially that's a good viable tactic against them. You're maybe going to want the Barb Turagil, even the Scythe Turagil with his Flamer will be useful. And again, Tyranifexes with the Flamer will be very good. Devourer Gaunts, super strong. And warriors with Death Spitters, also super strong. Death Spitters are a very good weapon against Drukhari. They do a number on them and can hurt pretty much anything in their army. So they work very well. So, and Venom Cannons, of course, as well. So Venom Cannons are a great choice. So Carnifexes with Venom Cannons, very effective as well. So we've got lots and lots of shooting that will really hurt the Drukhari. So building a lot of that into your army, and you need to build a lot of it in because Drukhari can hit you quite quickly. So you need redundance in there. There's no point in putting in a couple of pieces of shooting. You need to have good volume so you can make sure that if you don't go first or Drukhari get at you, you've still got the ability to do damage over a period of time, because you're going to need that. So make sure you've got lots of shooting, but make sure you don't completely sacrifice your game plan, which is scoring the mission and making sure that you've got your cap system up and running. So you've still got all those elements, because you're still going to need them. You can't factor them out. If you factor them out, you'll lose anyway. So you need to still think about the cap system, but that's what you want to be teching mostly into. Your power element of your army needs to be shooting. It doesn't want to be combat. That's your kind of the teching into it. How do we beat them? Now, this has been spoken about quite a lot, so this won't come as a huge surprise to a lot of you that have been listening to podcasts, videos, what have you. The key tactic for beating Drukhari is to take Drukhari out of their transport as quickly and as effectively as you possibly can. So they will deploy in several boats, raiders. Those raiders will almost always have the Dark Lance. The Dark Lance has now become much stronger because it does more reliable damage rather than just D6 that it did previously. So you're going to expect to see lots of boats. In those boats are going to have the stuff that is ultimately going to win Drukhari the game. That's what you need to get rid of. So that's where that shooting has become super viable. These boats are pretty soft and squishy, and you've got the ability within the Tyranid army to deal with multiple really, really quickly. Hive Guard, with fairly average dice, if you've got a big beefy unit of 6, they've also got the exploding 6's psychic power on them through Kronos, and you do shoot again, there's a good chance you could quite reliably take out 3. If you really stretch through, you might even be able to take out 4 raiders, potentially. Reliably you're going to kill 2. You probably will kill 3, and there's even a stretch you might kill 4. So the ability for the Hive Guard to reach out and do mass damage with the buffs to raiders is there, and they can't really hide from the Hive Guard particularly easy at all. And the further you make sure that you push them back, the more time you've got to be able to deal with them. So Hive Guard are huge there. As I said, the Exocrine again, making sure you buff that Exocrine's damage to 3 rather than 2 with the stratagem. Again, you'll do serious amounts of volume of damage there. And again, with the shoot twice, there's a chance, you shoot him once, and then he deals with 1. You then shoot him again, he deals with another. The Hive Guard deal with another 2. That's probably even fairly average dice. You're reliably killing 4 from those 2 units. You factor in some other bits and pieces, there's a good chance you might be able to destroy all of the raiders first turn. And if you can kill all the raiders first turn, then you're in a game. And you are just in a game. It's not a case of you suddenly won that, but you're in a game, because then they've got to start footslogging it. They are quick, but you know where that threat's coming from and you can deal with it. So that's got to be the main focus. The next thing you have to think about is their characters. So their characters are super, super killy. They will do a number on you, and they've got buffs as well. You need to try and focus to try and kill these. So, they will be hidden behind things, but again, they're very offensive and they want to get in combat. So you need to be looking at ways to circumnavigate their army to get to their characters, to kill their characters off. Because once you've done that, then things will start to get slightly easier for you. The next thing is you want to be looking at killing any of their other Dark Lances, because when we're taking monsters that we need to continue to shoot, then we need to make sure that those monsters can continue to damage and put their output throughout the game. You don't want those Dark Lances plinging away at your monsters, and the less Dark Lances they've got, they will quite quickly lose effectiveness, because those Dark Lances, even with the odd reroll here and there, the fact that they wound our biggest, strongest monsters on 4s rather than 3s because of our toughness 8 means that we can actually shrug quite a lot of those Dark Lance shots off. If they get through, they're going to do damage. We know that, but you can shrug them off with a combination of not everyone's going to hit, and then quite a lot aren't going to wound. Yes, when they get through, you're not going to save most of the time, but still, you're going to be able to shrug some of them off. and that will give you a great chance. So the more of those you can get rid of. So what that also means is that the Drukhari, Trueborn, which are just little squishy Cabalite warriors, but they will be hanging on to quite a lot of firepower through blasters, and they'll be hitting really, really accurately. Those need to be a #1 target as well. You know you're going to have witches coming flying at you, but that's where your ball control and your screening needs to be key. So your gaunts, whether they be Hormagaunts, Termagants, you need to be making sure that you're holding them up as long as possible, that you're blocking them and you're feeding them stuff that's going to keep them away from your key units. While little units that you can drop in or circumnavigate their units score you some points. So that's the way to kind of play against them. Now, the reality is it's still tough, right? It's still tough. They're still too cheap. They're still going to have more units. They're still going to be able to win that battle of attrition just through numbers quite a lot of the time over you. And they do have the ability to do mass damage all over the board. So it's not an easy game, but if you play in that way, you have a chance. You need a bit of luck. You need to play really well, and you need to play to your strengths. And you need to be acceptant, as we said in the last video, of that's a tough game, but it is winnable if you play it smart. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any ideas on how to beat Drukhari, or what you found really successful, or just if you disagree everything I've said, let us know in the comments, because I'm always interested to read and hear. Read every single comment, and I do try to reply to most of them. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.